What is the most trying experience that ever happened to you?
And how do you spell his name? B.
Well, there's a lot of many trying experiences. One of the first challenges that you have in life after you get married is adjusting to your mate and adjusting to quit living a single life. You live a dual life, and you have to do everything around and with somebody else, and that changes your whole life, and it's a challenge to do that. After you get that solved, a lot of things come easy. Some people have a hard time doing that, others have an easy time doing it. That comes from example of your parents, my parents, and Melba's parents, and if you marry somebody who hasn't had that kind of discipline, then your job is tougher. So, and I had a little bit of that because I grew up in a family where you had to be disciplined, you had to chair, and you had to do everything. Melba grew up in a little different situation where she lived with her grandmother and a bunch of uncles until she was 13 years old, and she had some of the ideas about things were freewheeling. But as things went on and we worked those things out, we come to see a lot of things together, and you can see what happened from it. You're the recipients of that decision to make things work.
Andrew?
There's other challenges, of course, in everyday life, and making decisions and trying to do the things that are most beneficial, most profitable. Sometimes your plans don't always work. Well, anybody that's wise will get busy and figure those things out. But the most important thing that you do is work with your wife or your mate. When you start to pull in the opposite way, and then that little man called Satan gets in and everything goes bad.
Okay, who's next?
What is the most adventuresome thing that you've ever done?
Getting married. You learn a lot in a short time. You make you come to some conclusions that life is real. Before that, all you're doing is dreaming about it, but when you get married, you find out that, hey, it's 2 for 1 on everything. So 2 problems. There ain't any more 1 problem. It's 2 problems, everything you do. Then the next thing has 3 problems. Until, with us, it was 5 problems. And every one of those problems, every one of those children are different. They have different wants, different needs, and you have to work on those things. And if you let any one of them get the upper hand, then the rest you got to start right off the bat. It's like my dad did. If I didn't do something right, he got my ears bent, and I took that lesson from him that you better make sure that your kids understood and not let them get away with the little things that you think is cute, thinks is funny, because they aren't funny after they get a little older. And I see that thing happening occasionally with people and with families, in our family and out of our family, that when the people let the kids run the house, just as well throw their hat in, because it goes through the whole bunch. So you start out first up, some problem comes up, you better check it and get it straightened out and carry on from there.
Okay.
What is your favorite scripture and why? Your favorite scripture story or a scripture in particular?
Well, it sounds like missionary, but one of the favorite ones that I think that works for everybody. If you lack wisdom, ask God. And if you get a problem, you go to that first. You do what you can do about it, and if you can't, there's your first help.
Tell us about building the cinder block house. The cinder block house.
Well, that started out to be well, to start out with, we didn't know what we wanted, so I sat down and drew a plan. And drew it. I'd had a little experience in drawing plans and doing some of that type of work in school, so I sat down and drew a plan for that house. And we had several people work on it. I forget the name of the fellow that come in and helped us do some of it. Me and Giovonanni and Raj did a lot of the work. Grandpa Dave helped Lamar come out and worked on it. But there's one guy that come out there and did some work, liked the plan of the house, so I made him a copy of it, and I didn't see anything of him for about 10 years, and he came back from California one time, and he came out to see me, and he told me this story. He says, you know, I took that plan that you made of that house, I went to California, and he says, in one place I'd built 75 houses out of that plan, and I altered them just a little, each one of them. But I actually drew the plan for that house, and we did a lot of the work. When we were building it, working on it, Bob was just a little kid, a little toddler, just walking good. Melby used to work uptown at Wolfers, and we'd go up there after school and we'd work on the house. In the fall of the year we was working on it, we had a big bunch of potatoes we dug, and the kids would get hungry, so we built a little bonfire. That's before we had the floor poured or anything else. We built a little bonfire in the middle of it, threw potatoes in and baked them, and the kids had some potatoes to eat while we were up there. But one of those evenings we built a fire in there and got doing something else and forgot it, and we almost burned the shack down. Just lucky we got it out, but we actually built that ourselves.
Well, Jesse Maurer built the cabinets, didn't he?
Pardon?
Didn't Jess Maurer build the cabinets for it? For the kitchen?
Yeah, Jess put the cabinets in. Yeah, Jess come on and build the cabinets in. And when we first put it in, we had an oil stove in it. Later we put a gas furnace in when the gas came out. But we used to, the water system came from the old well. There was enough pressure from the big well. When we drove that well, it would flow 30 gallons a minute. And finally it got down to where it wouldn't put pressure in there anymore, so we went out and put a sand point in by the old garage and used that for water. But I learned later that if we'd have dropped a pipe down into that well, that we could have had all the water we wanted, because the water would raise up within 10 feet of the top of the ground, and we could have drawn it from there, but the sand point worked, so we used it. We had the water system was a pressure pump we got from Sears for the house. We got by in a lot of years with it. J.J. Gibson was bishop, and he came up there one day, and he seen the curtains that Melba put in there, and he says he liked them, so he went home and put a set in for his wife in his house.
Yeah, there was club that Mother belonged to. Remember what the name of the club was, Dad? Kind of a social club.
Taylor Women's Club. Taylor Women's Club, they called it.
And they met in different people's homes, different times.
Yeah.
And about every 2 or 3 years, it ended up being at Mom's home, at our house. And boy, when that came around, things had to change. I mean, we had the new wallpaper, and that was the result of those purple and gray curtains, weren't they? They were gray and
red.
Gray and red, yeah.
They had valances, big valances on them.
Going across.
It was on all the windows in the front rooms. But
Beautiful curtains.
that Taylor Club, they did a lot of things, a lot of nice things. We used to go to dances, we used to do a lot of nice things. There was people like Lonnie and Letha Hadley, Clarence Laws and his wife, Roy Clark and his wife, Melvin I, Ken Farr and his wife, Glenn Farr, all the older people. We all belonged to that women's club. But we did a lot of things. Spent time in the canyon. We spent time doing a lot of social things, some religious things. But it was a lot of people would have liked to belong to it, but these women kept it down to about 25, and that was it. It was just a certain bunch. And
That's a lot of women in one place at one time. And if you think of 25 women.
yeah,
They filled the place when they came to town. We all had to move out.
So did you build it originally to be a house, and then you were going to make it the garage later?
I built that so that we was going to build a house out in front of it. So we built it so there was doorways in it, one bigger one, one smaller one. And we built it purposely that way so that when we built the house, we would have the garage in back. But the more we thought about it and things happened, we decided that we needed a bigger house because we had more kids. So but when we built it originally, we put the upstairs rooms in it. And I built it heavy enough, that house was built heavy enough, and it got a heavy enough beam in it that you could put 10 ton of grain up in the attic. It's that well built. There's 2 by 12s joists in that up there. And but we just decided that we needed a bigger house, so we went down. But we got a little scare when we dug the basement for that, right where it sits. Dug it one afternoon, went out the next morning, and there was 4 feet of water in it. And we thought, uh-oh, gonna have some problems. So we just let it sit, and 2 days later it was cleared out and gone. We built the basement, put it in. After we built it, we got a little worried, so Bob and I and Raj started in on the north side, and a foot below the foundation, before the floor. We went in and put a drain pipe right around and out and over and down into the drain lines. And it's never given us a minute's trouble. But we did that precaution purposely so.
The Army on leave from Fort Ord to Louisiana. When I was on leave, we did that.
Yeah, we went down to shovel and dug. Well, it was partly dug anyway, but we just went down and dug it down and dropped down about a foot below the floor and went out. But when I put my septic tank in, I did something that a lot of people don't do, and that is I didn't run the washer and dryer water into the septic tank. I bypassed it and put it out into the drain lines. And I didn't put it in both drain lines. That house has 2 drain lines, 2 separate field drains running from way up there clear out to the road. And so the one that I put the washer and dryer in, I went out to the street, went right out to the road drain, and I opened put a tile in and put that in and put it so the water from the washer and dryer bypassed the septic tank and the line from the septic tank, and it drained out, and it goes out and drains out and down and that saved my septic tank. a little over a year ago, wasn't it, Bob? About a year and a half ago, since we built that house and put that septic tank in, is the first time I had to drain that septic tank. So from 1964, 74, 84, 94, about 30 years that worked by keeping that soap out of the septic tank.
And was it full? Was the septic tank?
It was solid. It was due. It needed draining, and we did it then. But
Okay. This one says, tell about the changes you've seen in your lifetime in society in general.
well, there's been a lot of changes. A lot of things happen. One of the worst things that I think has happened is when something happened around the world, you might hear about it 2 or 3 weeks, 6 months later. Now, when there's problems, you hear about it. When it happens today, you hear about it, and that's caused us a lot of problems. What you don't know don't hurt you. But that's what hurts a lot of. One of the biggest changes that I think is made is the news media creates a lot of problems for us that we don't need, a lot of worries we don't need, a lot of things that people in the know-how are in a position to take care of them, could take care of them without public opinion. And by the news media, it changes public opinion overnight. And they say, tell it as it is. Sometimes it isn't. So, but...
How about changes in morality in politics? Well, I'll take them one at a time.
Changes in morality, well, hey, what's a lot of things as far as moral things are today's morals. There was immorality when I was a kid, and you had to be on guard to keep away from problems. That it isn't, as far as moral things, those problems have always been with us. They always will be. The main reason is because the devil is ready to grab you if you slip, and people used to slip then just as much as they do now. The only thing is, there's more of us and there's more of it. Then there wasn't so many of us, you didn't hear so much about it. Today, there's lots of people, lots of things going on, and you hear about them, and when these kids hear about them, hey, let's find out what that's like. They want to experience those things. If they don't hear about them, they don't worry about them.
Do you think people are more open about that immorality nowadays? They talk more about it than they used to?
Too much so. Don't need to talk about it so much. Do what comes naturally. And the birds and the bees do what's right. People are no different. They can do what's right, do what they need to do. The least said about something sometimes is the best.
What about changes in politics?
The Lord give you your head to use about things, and if you don't use it, all you do is get in trouble. I think politics is a big problem. For instance, right now, we got a thing going on between the Republicans and Democrats that they're making a big stink about, and all it is a battle going on between the Democrats and Republicans. If they weren't battling over a problem between them, the other problem would go away. The people don't want to hear no more about this junk. A lot of things that could be handled by those people and handled right and get rid of them, we don't need to hear about them sometimes. Better off we don't. Politics changes every day. What people used to get by with because of media, they don't get by with anymore. They don't solve them. They don't take care of them. The media gets in and changes opinion, changes public opinion, changes people's thinking, and sometimes if you're thinking right, somebody can come along and change your thinking and down the tube.
In your opinion, are the politicians more moral? Were they more moral in your youth than they are today?
Nothing has
Were
changed.
they more trusted? Nothing's different. Huh?
Nothing has changed. Hey, those old boys used to get in trouble too, like these guys do today. As long as you have human beings, you'll have moral problems. You'll have things creeping into people's lives. Why? Because well, there's a saying. I can't think of it right now. It's something about a man. Meaning that a man is weak and is easy tempted, and I think they always will be, and that's the one thing the Lord warns us about, is to be aware of those things and avoid the problems. What is it? The natural man is the enemy of God is a true statement. Very true. The natural man. And that means that you're on that level where you can be tempted.
Okay, Susan?
Okay. What would you like to be remembered for?
They're tough questions tonight, aren't they?
That's the thing that I think that I would like to be remembered for is that I try to do the best I can for everybody I can, and whenever I can, and wherever I can. If I can't help somebody, don't hinder them. And I try to be and give advice to anybody in the proper manner that it'll be beneficial to them. And I don't want to give advice if I don't think it's going to help you.
Okay, while you're talking about advice, what is your personal secret for happiness?
Mind your business and let everybody else do the same. If you do what you have to do to get along, and let everybody else do the same, the world will be happier. If you get your nose in other people's business, you get them in trouble and you in trouble. So if you just do what you got to do every day, let everybody else do the same, everybody is happier.
Are there any family heirlooms in your possession? Tell about them and how you came to acquire them.
You mean in the way of physical things or spiritual? Or both?
Physical probably first.
Pardon?
When you're talking about heirlooms, I think you're talking about physical things mostly. But
Well, I do have one thing that was handed me down. I've got a lot of things but I have an old clock that my grandfather owned, which was given to my father, which was given to me. And then I have some nice pictures of my grandfather and grandmother Favero. I don't have too much of the daily side, but those are the things that you need to keep if you can get a hold of them, so you can pass them down so the kids, so your family can see them. But as far as spiritual heirlooms, there again, the most important heirloom, go back to my folks, they did what was right. Melba's folks tried to do those things as far as the family was concerned. Sure, they made some mistakes, but who don't? We all do. But the heirloom that you have to rely on is your heritage, what went on before you, and what you could glean out of that to make you better and pass that on to what your kids and give them whatever you can give them to help them. Grandkids the same. Give them. There's a lot of things that my father stood for that I've told my boys and tried to help them with, and the girls. But you got to go back to the fact that the Lord gave us a brain. We have to do some things for ourselves.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Favero, on that, is there anything that you own or you have that you consider, other than the clock and things you talked about, that you think that should be retained as an heirloom? Things that we should be concerned about maintaining and keeping, things that you have?
Oh, I've got a lot of things over there. A lot of different things. I think photos. I think genealogy. I think that you should get those things. I've got a book with a lot of things in it that your kids could make copies of and have. There's a lot of nice furniture in the house. There's a lot of things there that that you can share.
Besides the house, what do you think is your most prized possession?
The gospel.
Well, no, I mean physical things.
Physical thing. Oh, I think the home itself has been something that your mother wanted, that we finally acquired, that she always wanted a good home. We got that, and it's been a key point for everybody.
What about your guns? Do they mean anything?
Well, I've got some good guns over there, and they won't. Where we go from here, we ain't going to use them.
Well, I know, but I just trying to think of things of your own personal to you that you might think are a little more special than other things, and I think sometimes your guns might be.
Well, I enjoyed them and taught you guys how to use them. And I've got some good guns, about 7 or 8 of them over there. So.
What about the things on your dresser? You've got like jewelry boxes and things like that. You've always kept special things in.
Well, Melba's. I don't have anything particularly in jewelry boxes. Mostly Melba's. I have, but I do have in another place. I do have some good diamonds and stuff. But what are they after you kick the bucket?
Nothing to you, but they might be special to us.
Well, I don't know. That's going to be a decision that I'm having I have a will made out, and I'm having a trust made out now, and there'll be assigned 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. 2 oldest ones, 2 next. I'm having the oldest one on down to be in charge of that. Sheila didn't quite like the idea. She said it ought to be a boy and a girl, but in my family, we set it up, me and Jim. If something happened to me, Jim and Bud, but you have to have 2 if you're smart. You'll have 2 to take care of that situation, so that with my dad's stuff, after my dad died, everything went to my mother. After she died, all we had to do was go cash in my dad's certificates and money, and the bank put them all in one lump sum, made out checks for each one of the kids. We never touched them. All we done is signed them, and I've never heard one word since. But we left Madeline in charge of what was in the house, and I'm going to leave that up to the girls. The 2 girls can take care of that. What's outside, the things that are boys' things, the boys take care of. What's in the house, the girls will take care of those things. That's the way I want it done.
And
Is there a special story about the clock?
About the clock? When my grandfather hit New York, he bought that clock. He had it while he was in New York, in the mines there, and he had it when he was in Cold City, Illinois. He had it there, And he brought it right across the continent with him. And moved into Wyoming, he had it there. And then he came here to Taylor, he had it there. Then when he moved up on Childs Avenue, he had it there. And my dad captured it, and it was supposed to go to him. Giovonanni, Giovonanni, Giovonanni. That's the way it's supposed to go. So if little Giovonanni behaved himself, he'll end up with it.
And if he doesn't?
And if he doesn't, then it goes to the third boy.
The one who really cares.
Who's behaved himself.
Any others you got on your list, Andy?
Yeah, these are just some, how about working on, well, how about working on the dam? Did you work on the dam?
I helped build Pine View Dam.
You told me a story once about you were working on a shaft or something and you fell down in.
One night, me and about 3 other guys was busy working on we were changing the pumps out and raising the pumps. As they built the dam up, they raised the pumps up, and we were busy changing the pumps out. And the guy was working there opposite to me, and he let a wrench slip and hit me and knocked me down, and I fell down about 6-8 pipe links, at least 20 feet. I just happened to catch myself on the cribbing in there and was able to get back up out. Another time I was laying some lines up there, and I had a big 6-foot wrench. I was holding one and working here, another guy opposite to me, and the boss told me, he said, come down here, let somebody else, another guy have that wrench. And I moved, I changed, and that guy that was working opposite where I was, the guy that come there, let that wrench slip and hit that guy and split his head open. And I would have been there. That's how close I come to get it. I've had a lot of close calls in my life like that.
When did you help build the dam? I mean, was that after the railroad or before? Or?
Before.
Were you married?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But fairly early in your married life, over 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I helped build the dam, and in fact, I worked on the dam before I was married and after. And then I helped build the Highline Canal around from the dam around to Brigham City. I worked on that. I helped build that line. Then I would come and I went to work I went to school then. That was right 19 and what, 40? 38 and 9, 39, 38, 7, 8 and 9. 38 and 9, I was working, I went on WPA for a while, so then they sent me to school. And while I was going to school, I worked at Wood Motor and as a mechanic, and then I left there and went down to the railroad. Got a job there, and while I was at the railroad, we were college one winter to learn how to work on all the heavy equipment for the Army. And because I had 2 kids, the railroad wouldn't let me go. And so I got out of going to the service because I was working for the railroad, and I was farming, and I had 2 kids. So you see, sometimes family saves your hide.
You got any others on there, Andy?
So then, yeah, you do. Okay, you want to ask it?
Did you have another question on that one?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. You've sealed me and Melinda and Andy and Dave and Ron and Emery. Tell us about that day when you got that sealing power, and about who laid their hands on your head, and a little bit about your feelings on that.
Melba and I were working in the temple, and we were working as ordnance workers, and one day the temple presidency called me in and said, we need to talk to you. The temple president said, we need to talk to you. Would you have your wife come in visit with us. So we went in, and they said that they would like me to be a sealer in the temple. And we visited about it and decided, yes, that would be nice. So they had a special day that President Hinckley came up, and he sat about 6 of us apart. But we sat in, Melba and I sat in, and just me and him and Melba sat in, and we visited for at least 20 minutes with President Hinckley. And in her presence, he set me apart as a sealer. I've still got the card that he gave me. But once you're made a sealer, that's a permanent thing. Yeah, so I can seal or marry anybody in the Ogden Temple anytime. And with special permission, I can marry any of my direct descendants. Children, my children or my grandchildren, great-grandchildren. But I've married quite a few of you. I don't know how many, quite a bunch of them. Then I've done several marriages in the family besides that. I married Kevin and his wife in the temple. And I'd have to stop and think a little bit. And then in the temple, as I was working as a sealer, I did numerous marriages that just would come in and didn't have anybody assigned, and they would assign us. And I've even had a chance to do sealings where I sealed kids to their parents and seal the parents and kids. So I've had a lot of nice experiences with that.
Did you have any, or do you remember any special experience you had with any?
Well, sometimes I've never had anything that was alarming at all with the family, because it always went off good. It seemed like that those things were in order and that they worked out. But a number of times when I was doing names, I've had things happen that you wondered why that particular thing happened, why all of a sudden everything stopped, and why you would have reason to question. And you just felt like, well, I don't think this person is accepting this particular ordinance. You get that. I've had that feeling on several occasions. So that can happen to you.
Okay, I don't think we've talked much about his mission. About their mission.
No.
Do you have some special experiences about your mission, or can you tell us about when you're going on your mission?
There were so many things happened on that mission. It's just crazy. One of the most interesting things that happened, we worked with a black man, and he was keeping company with a white gal, and she wanted him to join the church. Well, I got the feeling that I'm not sure that I didn't have the zone leaders interview him. I felt like that because of that situation. He was a psychiatrist, a doctor of psychiatry. And I said to Melba, I said, might be well to load him in the car and take him out and have the president talk with him. I felt a little uncomfortable. And so after he interviewed him a little bit, and he was talking to the black man was talking to the missionaries and other people there, he walked over to me. He said, what did you bring him down here for? He says, you knew what was going on. Get him baptized. he says, he's ready. And the last I knew, he was still in the church, and he married this gal. Another thing that happened one time, we got a hold of two sisters, and they were, we worked with them, and finally we got the one baptized. And then she brought her sister, and we worked with her and got her baptized. And we was working with the their husbands. They wanted them to get in. And lo and behold, all of a sudden we found out that their dad was a Baptist minister. And the last we heard before I left the mission, they were working on him. We turned him over to some of the missionary kids. But it was funny that we would baptize two sisters like that.
We ought to get on tape the dog and coat story.
The dog and coat story.
This couple, she wanted to come into church so bad, and this guy was he was a little bit reluctant, and we made numerous trips there. Took the elders with us, and we went there on numerous times. And so this particular night we was there. This lady took her coats and put them in on the bed. Well, they had a German short hair and a Doberman pincer, and they was kind of run through the house, so they put them in the bedroom to keep them quiet. So after we got through with the teaching and the elders were there, the two elders, and she got up and we got ready to go, and she got up and went to go get her coats, and she come back and her face was white as snow. And she beat her back in the other room again. She made 2-3 trips back and forth. Finally, she come bringing out the coats. And she's almost crying. She said, "The dogs have eat up your coats." I said, "What?" And they had actually tore the coats, and I still got the coats over there. So, but we never did get them baptized. But they felt so guilty about it that one night they asked us and the two missionaries to come over, and they fixed us a nice steak dinner. Figured that would pay for the coats. But those two dogs really riddled those coats. I still got them over there.
How did you feel when you got your mission call?
Well, we were ready to go, and Melba had been wanting to go for quite a while. She said, "That's one thing we need to do." And I said to her, I said, "Well, I'm not going to go ask the bishop or anybody to go on a mission." And I said, "I want you to keep still. If the Lord wants us to go on a mission, the bishop will call us in." I said, "You don't ask for those jobs. The Lord will take care of that." And that's exactly the way it worked. I said I would never ask to go on a mission, but I would go if I was called in. So that's what happened.
Who was bishop?
Atkinson. We're the only couple he got to go. He called in Earl Staker and his wife. He called in several different couples, and lives up here on the corner. Reese and his wife, they called. I think Elmer Isaacson was called. Melvin and Mary Fern was called, but he was working for the government then and couldn't get away. But there was a bunch of them. He tried to get to go on missions, and we're the only ones that went on a mission while he was bishop.
Did you like Chicago? Did you want to go to Chicago? Did you want to go somewhere else?
I think that wherever you're called turns out to be the best places you should be, and I think it was for us. We learned a lot of things there, did a lot of things that was interesting. We were the favorite couple of the mission president. If he had something interesting to do and wanted to go do something, we were the couple he called to go with him. So one day we were, the missionaries, and the missionaries all liked Melvin, all of the young missionaries. They just loved to be with us. So one day the zone leaders called up and said, Elder Favero, you and Sister Favero would like to go to the ball game at Wrigley Field? We can get some tickets for you. I said, yeah, give me 4 tickets. Okay. So I called the president up and I said, hey, I got 2 tickets for Monday for the ball game. You want to go? Oh, yeah. So the missionaries had 4 seats right in the middle of all the missionaries, a big bunch of them there. They were all there. 4 seats. Here, me and Melvin, the mission president, come up. Everything went shh. We'd really messed the party up. So he come in and he spoke to everybody and shook hands with them and went and sat down. And boy, and he was for one, I don't remember which team he was for, but he was for one of the teams. And the minute that team started playing, making runs, he was up and hollering. Pretty soon he says, anybody want hot dogs? One or two of them says, yeah. Call that guy and he says, give this bunch all hot dogs and drink. He bought hot dogs and drink for the whole bunch of them. And he just made a big time for the whole bunch of them. And from then on, boy, he was in. The kids all loved him. But it just happened that we created that situation by getting tickets and asking him to go. But I laughed one time. Him and his wife went out to northwestern Illinois to where there was an old grave site being tore up, and it was an LDS. They thought it was an LDS or heard it was an LDS graveyard, so they went out there and got a nice little headstone for a souvenir. And so after they got it, they found out it was a reorganized church. So one Monday he says, hey, you and Sister Favero want to take a ride at this? We got a little chore to do. And I said, well, what? And he said, never mind, just come go with us. So when we get out there, he took this headstone back. He said, she didn't want it because it's an reorganized church, but she wanted to get rid of it. She didn't want to be responsible for having it. We used to go together to a lot of nice things. These, what do you call them? Any kind of what do you call it? The concert halls and stuff. He'd call up, if I heard of something, I'd call him. Finally, we began to get some of the other couples in, and got them working with us. But there was one little guy, no matter where we went to eat, that little guy, nicest food in the world. He had to have a big order of chicken wings. And every place he went with us, he had to have chicken wings. President says, get Mr. Chicken his chicken wings. No.
Well, let me ask you 2 or 3 things. Remember the morning of the day that the chickens all drowned in the pit? How did you feel that day?
How did I feel? I was pretty upset. I was pretty upset with the ditch company because somebody had let the ditch run over and I guess we lost a couple hundred chickens there, didn't we, or more?
Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of them.
We had a big old corn pit. We dug in the ground and we built a fence around it to keep the chickens in, and that's where we took care of them. Had the covers in there so they'd keep out of the sun. It was a nice, cool place for them. And ditch company let the water back up, and it run over and run in there and drowned all the chickens. And great big meat chickens that just ready to kill. Beautiful, big red chickens.
How about that with some good chicken soup?
We never found them in any soup like that.
Well, we had a bunch of pigs there then. We'd been raising some pigs. And we used to go get, had a fellow up here in Riverdale that raised fryers, and he'd get big tubs of the entrails and everything off those chickens, and we'd go up every couple of days or so, and the pickup and that little red pickup we had, and we'd bring them home and feed them to them pigs. And we had 5 or 6 sows to have pigs. What do we have? 15, 20 pigs at a time there, and we had a big pen. Oh, it was bigger than his house. We had those pigs in there. We'd go up and get that, and then I'd feed them alfalfa hay and those trimmings from those chickens, and boy, they'd get fat. They'd grow like crazy.
We had to go pull weeds all around the yard to feed those pigs. Keep and feed.
That's a
Pulling
cheap
redwood, yeah, it was cheap feed, and they ate those things like crazy.
Some pigs have villains too.
I don't think so.
So what did you do with the chickens?
Fed them.
Those chickens that got drowned, we just fed them to pigs. They loved them.
Well, that threw away. After a while, we got a lot of them. There was a lot of them got that. What about the day that the barn blew over?
That was after we built the house, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a twister came through, and it went down through West River and ripped the roof off my house and blew some trees over and off of a barn down there. One wing of it come up across our place, and it picked up the barn setting this way lengthwise, and just picked it up and turned it this way and set it all down in a pile, in a lump. And I thought I had insurance for that. I had insurance would cover it, and I called the insurance agent. And he says, "No, you didn't have that." Melba's brother came out and he says, "Don't you know what matches is for?" I had fire insurance. See, don't you know what matches is for? Said, light it on fire and let it burn up. But anyway.
Thought you did.
No, the neighbor lived across the street, and he saw it happen. We didn't see it happen. I don't remember where we were exactly right now, but he said that it just picked it right up and turned it sideways and set it down. And we had 5 or 6 cows in the barn. It was in late winter, early spring. And there those cows were still in stanchions in the barn.
You picked up the cows and everything and put them back down?
No, it just...
Did it pick up the floor?
Where the cows were, it didn't disturb. It just picked up the big part of the barn, the tall part, and turned it around. And they were still in there, but some of it had fell down on them, and we had quite a job getting them out. We finally got them out. So then we took this... We took and built some stanchions out in the back, and before we built the new barn, we had to milk them out there, out in the open. Milk them every morning and night out there in the open. And we would bring them in and put them in those stanchions and milk them, and then we made a makeshift kraal out there for them. A lot of crazy things went on. You just had to. You didn't have the money to do a lot of things you need to do, and that's when we built our house. And this is crazy. When I built the house, I had a hard time getting a loan to build the house. I tried a lot of places. I even tried my brother at First Security Bank. Finally, a guy that I was working the railroad with said, "Hey," he says, "I can get you a builder and I can get you a loan." I said, "Let's go to work on it." So he got a fellow had been building some houses in Wyoming, a guy with the name of Jim Doon. He says, "Well, you find a plan." He come out and talked to me. He says, "You find a plan, we can get the finance." So we got busy and looked around, and we run onto a house up on Kiwanis Drive in South Ogden that we liked. So I tried to get the plans, and finally we got a hold of the plans. And he said, I'll let you use them and you give them back to me. So I connived around a little bit, and I took the plans and went down to an outfit and had him made me 4 copies of them. And I took the plan back to him, and I had the copies. And we built the house off those copies. But my house, the way it sits right now, and there's not many changes we made in it, it cost me $21,000 with the construction loan. And back in,
And everything, huh?
pardon?
Property and everything?
Well, I owned the property, but $21,000 to put the house on it. And in about, what, 73 or 4, I had it appraised, and they appraised it for $161,000. Think of that, how things changed in those few short years. 73, I think it was.
How'd you feel about the day you finished the new milk barn?
It was a good day. Good to have that done. I laid the brick for it. Me and the kids, me and Bob and Giovanni, worked on it and laid the brick for it and did all the work on it, except the roof. And old Jess Myers put the roof on it. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Bob Lynch helped you with those blocks. Remember him?
Who?
Was it Bob Lynch or Bob somebody Lynch?
No, it was one of his brothers, Jack Lynch.
Jack Lynch. Okay.
Come out and helped me. But I laid basically all the block. He come and showed me how to line it up. And that building is, in every corner, it's got steel rods, goes clear to the footings, and grout in them. If you want to see how they are, go in the back corner and see where somebody ran into it and broke the block.
So I was going to ask you next, how did you feel the day Giovanni hit the corner of the barn with the corn truck?
He got his butt chewed out normally. But there was all those things happen. That's part of a family growing up and getting things done and those kind of things, they happen and sometimes we do things that we deserve getting straightened out for, and sometimes we don't deserve it but get it anyway. I know when I was a kid, I was the oldest one in the family, and my dad used to leave. He said, instead of telling the rest of the kids what to get, he said, "Johnny, I want this done. Now see that it gets done." So I'd have to bend ears all day long to get that particular job done. And I'd threaten them. "I'm going to tell Dad if you don't get this. Let's go. Let's get it done." So they used to get mad at me because I would push them, and push them to get the work done. So one they got pretty mad at me, and so one night they figured out a little deal, and they got up and then there was an alleyway in the old barn, and they jumped down on top of me with a horse blanket and tied me up in the horse blanket and pulled me up in the barn. And they left me there until Dad come home. They would get even with me.
So thinking of your days,
Funny. We never did that dandy.
thinking of the days since the time you bought the farm from old Jess Mauer till now, what was your happiest or proudest times on that farm?
When I had all the kids home and it's all working together, when everything was going and we could do things together, that was the best time when everybody was growing up and getting things done, and everybody was benefiting, so to speak.
So before Giovanni got married or after? Or?
Well, while everybody was home, before Giovanni got married, that's the time it's the best when you get everybody home. It's like my dad said. He said, when everybody you got your family all home and everybody's home, you're in control. But he says after they get married, he says, old heck breaks loose. He said lots of things happen. Everything changes, and it did in our family. It changed. But I can't kick too much. I think that what Melvin and I stood for us turned out to be pretty good posterities.
Ever any discouraging times, like when you were working 2 jobs and trying to make ends meet, and Mom was working and all those kinds of things? You ever get discouraged with things, or keep going?
Got frustrated. You can't say discouraged, because I was always been a guy that that the discouragement wasn't a word in my vocabulary and in my thinking. I got frustrated a lot of times and had a lot of things worry me and become problems to figure out. But like Melba said to me, she said on a lot of occasions, she said, I don't know how you can stick with something as long as you do until you get it done. I said, well, if I figured this problem out now, next time it comes up, I've got the answers. And I said, if you got something comes up, you throw your hands in the air and let it go, you don't want any more to do with it, it's going to be a problem the rest of your life. And that's the way I try to do things in my life. If I can get a handle on it now, it's for keeps. And that's the way life should be. You should figure out your problems and get the answers while they're available.
You ever feel discouraged like the night we had to cut that one calf out of the ice? Remember that?
And the only thing I thought about that, the dumb little bugger, it should have stayed in the pen where it belonged instead of getting on.
We were there till, gosh, it must have been 10 o'clock at night. 9:30, 10 o'clock at night on a cold winter night. I'm in January type cold.
Yeah, it was cold.
We were chopping that calf. He was literally frozen in the bottom of the concrete ditch. We were chopping the ice around him and had to then hoist him out of the ditch because he couldn't move. He was frozen to the point he couldn't use his feet.
I think he partly recovered, didn't he?
Yeah. He lost his ears, lost his tail, or whatever.
But basically, he came out of it as I remember.
Yeah.
The one funny thing that I laughed about, and still laugh about it, years ago when Giovonanni wanted a pony, we bought that little brown mare. And one Saturday morning he got up and he said, Dad, I think I'll go get old Brownie and have a ride. Well, I was there at the barn and he'd gone down, we had her on the hill. And he had to go down and catch her, so he went down and caught her. And he didn't know I was watching, but I was standing there in the barn watching him. Got the bridle on her and he piled on her. She threw him high as a kite. She started walking 2-3 steps and she threw him off. Stood there and looked at him. He jumped up. He piled right back on her. She threw him 3 times. The 3rd time he picked up a big club and beat the crap out of her and piled on her, and she never had more trouble. But that's Giovonanni. He never give up. And that's the way I tried to be in my life. If I had a problem, I either solved it or else. And that's the way Giovonanni was. But I got a kick out of it. I knew then that he was going to be tough to deal with, that he would.
Well, talking about that, I think the rest of us kids learned a lot from Giovonanni, just from all the little scrapes he got into and all the little problems he had with you as parents. And how'd you feel about that? I mean, over the years, it seemed like Giovonanni was aggressive, but he was always seemed like he was in trouble too. You remember the day he ran away from home and hid out behind the corn pit till Sunday school, till church was over, and then came back?
And that story, Melba and I had gone to get groceries and come back, or gone somewhere and come back, and it was just about time for me to go to work. We came home and you kids says, well, Giovonanni run away. Well, he'd been influenced by Ronnie Kingston somewhat, and if you don't like it, you run away. So I had no idea where he went. Melba had no idea where he went. But he went down in...
How old was he? He
was about 14 or 15. And so Melba said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to work. I said, that was his decision. He decided to run away. I said, I'm going to work. I've got no other choice. I'm going to work. So I got to work and I called the highway patrol up and I told them about it. I called the sheriff department and told them about it. But I didn't know he'd take any Sunday clothes with him. Didn't know that. But he went down and,
This is the funny part.
And he went down and slept down the bottom of the field in the ditch. Stayed down there. Then he went to preach it the next morning. Well,
they had to play. Play the piano.
So anyway, so I'd called the highway patrol up and told them, and I said, if you catch him, take him up and lock him up. I told the sheriff department, Ray Gibson was on the sheriff department, and he said, what do you want me to do with him? I said, take him up and lock him up, Ray. I said, he run away from home. If he don't want to live at home, maybe you enjoy being up there. Ray started laughing. He said, I've never heard anything like that before. So anyway, here he came home after church. Come up, Ray caught him when he got in church. And told him what I'd said. And when I got to work, I called Melba back and I told her what I'd done. I thought she was going to go crazy for me. You can't do that. I said, hey, it was his choice, not mine, not yours. I says, he'll have to suffer the consequence. You won't let him put him in jail. I says, hey, he might be happier there than home. Anyway, Ray caught him and told him what we'd said. So when he come home, I said, we talked about it a little bit, and I said, how'd you feel? He admitted he felt bad, and that he'd done what he shouldn't, and made it right. And I said, well, and I said, listen, remember this, Giovanni, it ever happens again, that's the way it's going to be. I said, you're not happy at home. And he never forgot it. He never pulled that one again.
Didn't that all start because he was sitting on top of the stove?
I don't remember. He used to do some dumb things. But he made his decision while we were away anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd either gone up to get Mom or... I can't remember.
I think we went and got some groceries to come home.
Yeah.
So what dumb things did Roger do?
Be careful, we're heading down dangerous path here.
One thing I remember about Raj when he was in high school, I was out in the backyard there by the old barn, right between the house and the barn, welding some pipes together and getting ready to put them in down the field. All of a sudden, here Raj was. And he'd come home and gone in the house and got changed. Not in his work clothes. That's never happened before. And I thought, hey, something screwy here, but I said, I'll just keep still and see what happens. So, and then finally I said to him, I'm glad you have come. I said, you must have thought I needed some help. And he said, yeah. So we went on working, and pretty soon here come a car in the yard with 5 or 6 kids in. And the kids come in and they said, come on, Raj, aren't you ready to go? Let's go. And they started screaming at him and hollering at him. And I looked at Raj, and I could see a look on his face that didn't suit me. And I said, well, Raj decided to come home and help me. I need some help here. Boy, they started screaming and hollering, hey, you're tough this and you're tough that. And I said, hey, get out of here, you guys. So the next day, we found out that those kids had gone up to Bear River to a game with Weber High. They got in a wreck and almost killed them. One kid they put in the hospital, and the others, and they had a real bad wreck. Raj could have been in that thing. But he had a premonition that he didn't want to go with him, and so he came home and I backed him up. I said, hey, I need Raj here tonight. I said, I'm glad he came home to help me. I need his help. You guys go at the game. So those kind of things can happen to you if you're listening. And Raj has been pretty good at listening all his life. That's why he's financially in the shape he's in right now. Because Giovanni could never listen. Giovanni always, I don't know. Well, the word is, Giovanni's been kind of a little bit of a dreamer about things and never checked things out as close as he should do. Raj checks and double checks, make sure that there's some answers there before he moves. And that's the way that's the advice I'd like to give all you guys. My dad made a statement, haste makes waste. And then he'd say, another day to consider things won't hurt at all. If it looks good today, it might not look so good tomorrow. You better think about it and when you got a serious problem. Another thing he used to say to me, you got a problem with somebody and you need to make some decisions with them and it's a little serious, you take a witness with you so they hear what's going on, what's said, and then you don't have any problem. But he said if you go to somebody with a problem alone, they've got you. He said you take a witness when you got a real serious problem. Then you don't have any serious effects. What the Lord tell you? In the presence of two witnesses, didn't he? Okay, what else?
So who's next? Dad something?
Somebody wanted to know the recipe for spaghetti.
That's some good Italian. No, spaghetti's easy to fix. All you gotta have is some garlic and onions and tomatoes and good tomatoes and a little Italian seasoning. Throw them all together and simmer them a while and put them on your spaghetti. Cook your onions and garlic in a little olive oil, throw in some Italian seasoning and let that simmer till it's tender, and then put your tomatoes, take the juice off from them and leave the pulp, put that in with your onions and garlic and stuff and cook it a little while, put your seasoning in of salt and pepper, let it cook for a while. If you want hamburger, cook it separate and mix it in. Want mushrooms, cook them separate and mix it in. The season, the flavor is there, mushroom flavor is there on its own, and each thing, if it's cooked alone, makes a better spaghetti sauce than if it's all cooked together and cooked for hours, because it all tastes the same. But if you cook it separate and mix it in, then it tastes better.
Of all the things you've purchased over the years, because you've spent a lot of time working hard to get money, and other than, say, the farm and 2 houses, what do you think would be your most satisfying, most exciting purchase? The thing that really brought you the most joy of all the things you've been able to buy over the years?
Well, there was a lot of things that one of the nicest things we got in the house that we enjoyed, first of all, was when the old radios was going on, and I remember when we didn't have radio, we had phonographs. Well, when we got the radio, that was something nice that we could enjoy. And then finally, when television came out, you remember the first television we got, that big television? We enjoyed that. And then each piece of stuff we got to improve in the house was good. We didn't have a garage out there. We went and pieced that old garage together. That was a good thing to have. And we enjoyed that. We used to cut the deer up in there. We used to do a lot of things in there. And then following down, we had several good cars. We got a couple of bummers, but we enjoyed the cars when we got them. The trips we went on was money well spent because we enjoyed them. But after Melba died, one of the nicest things I got is that if I really enjoyed now is my car, because it's been a good one and I've enjoyed it. Got a lot of good miles out of it, had a lot of good experiences with it. But those things that but no matter what you've got, if you don't take care of it, it don't serve you well. You take care of your body, it'll serve you good. Take care of your whatever you've got, maintain it and keep it up. It'll serve you a long time.
Okay.
I have one. I haven't got to ask a question since we started this. So I'm going to make something up. And I hope this doesn't put you on the spot. But would you bear your testimony first, Cameron?
Well,
I hope that's appropriate.
you know, I wasn't born into the church. My mother was a member of the church because my father was not a member of the church, that didn't mean I was born under the covenant or into the church per se. And so our family, and none of them were actually born into the church up until, well, in fact, I don't believe any of them were. They were all baptized into the church, all my brothers, because my father was never a member. And so I was the first one in the church to hold the Melchizedek priesthood, or the Aaronic priesthood. I was the first one to hold the Melchizedek priesthood, and I was the first one in our family, any of the Faveros, to be married in the temple. And I kind of feel like that because I was privileged to do those things and honor the church, try to live the gospel as much as I could, that it's been a benefit to me. And I think it's because of that, I set the example for my brothers, all of them, and try to set it for the family. And it's turned out that the gospel has actually been a benefit, and it is true. And I've tried to live by it as much as I could. And as much as you guys are sitting here, the gospel is that true.